And so I came to Redbird. For those of you that have been there, just that feeling of driving up 66 and two things. One of them is, where does everybody live? Where does everybody come from? You know, where are the neighborhoods? That kind of, I remember thinking and feeling, I'm going to serve here, and who am I serving? And the other thing was looking at that school, looking at that big school on stilts. And I love this video that you're looking at, because there is the school nestled in those mountains, and then just beyond it is our Queendale mission, where the work camp is, and those other parts. And it spoke to me. It spoke to me, and I said, Lord, do you want me here? And that's always been, I want to do what the Lord wants. You know, I can have all the plans in the world for me, but if they're not His plans, then they're nothing, right? They're not what's. So I've been blessed to have been a part of Redbird Mission since 1992. Again, I came straight out of grad school, and so for 32 years I've served. I've served for 17 years as a classroom teacher in the elementary, 9 years as a guidance counselor, and then I just completed my 6th year as principal. So it's been a real blessing to be there. The students that I had in 5th grade to start, in 1st grade even, are now parents of children that I serve. And so to be in that one place, that community school, and to watch and to follow families is a true blessing. It's also a heartache. It can be a heartache. And so we've seen both, and we feel guided by the Lord to stay there, to be there. And with partners like you, and for those of you that are not familiar with Redbird and haven't come, that's why we're here. We want you to know, we try to bring people to Redbird, to be on our campus, because you really don't get it, do you, until you come, those of you that have been. There's so much, there's a depth and a breadth of what we do and how we do it, and it's, you have to kind of, so this is a standing invitation for you all to come and to be a part of things if you haven't already. Okay, so there's that, and let me make sure I'm, so the mission started as a school. So I love that visual because it shows the school. Now, that's not our original school building. We're about to celebrate 40 years in that new school building that's 40 years old now. But we are celebrating that in this homecoming coming up. But our original school started as a response to mothers prayerfully asking for an education for their children way back in the 1920s. And so we continue to take that legacy and build on that legacy. I love the motto of the mission, building on a legacy of faith, and we do that. What I love about what we've turned into as a mission is, you know what church people do? We don't just look at a human being as a one-dimensional person, but we look at them as a whole person, and that is what is such a blessing to listen to Tracy talk about all of the things that we do in outreach, all of the things we do in the work camp. All of these things that are up here, it started as a school and us looking at the needs of those families, those children and their families. And so it's an honor to be the principal and to have served there for these years. It's important work. We see our school as our mission field. And so I wanted to share that. So 103 years now we've been, and we have 4 pillars that we stand on. It's academic excellence, it's spiritual development, it's leadership, and service. And we want to be able to provide an excellent education for all of our children. Now again, back when we started in our school, there was no other school, there was no other options. There was no schools available way back then. Now, let's fast forward 103 years, and every family, almost every family that we serve now that send their children to Redbird have an option to go to a public school. But we are a non-public school. Notice I don't say we're a private school. Why do I not say private school? We're not exclusionary. We want to be open to anybody who wants to come and learn more about the Lord. We don't have, tick boxes that they have to meet to be able to come. We're open. And plus, we want to make sure that it's affordable. So we're not a public school in that we have a tuition that's unaffordable for our local families. The mission has always been to serve our local families, and so that's important to us to continue to do that. It's still, the tuition for each child is still what it is to cover all of our expenses, but the family portion that we ask for the families to pay is as reasonable as we can make it for them. We're on a sliding scale, and that's important for us to be able to provide that for them. We don't want money to be the barrier. If they're willing to work hard and want to have to build and make a future for themselves in college and career, we don't want to be that stumbling block. We want to give them that opportunity to do that. And the other thing is we want to give them excellence. We want to give them that opportunity in an excellent way, not something that's less than. We don't compete with the public schools because we realize more and more that what we have is something special and different, and celebrate that, what we have to offer for our students. Okay, so then if we go to the next, here's some great pictures of our school today. Our motto for a school is we enter to learn and we leave to serve. We want to be able to give our children what they need while they're in the building, and then when they graduate, we want to have them to be locked into who, and I love, and I say this all the time, we want them to be locked into whose they are and who they are in the Lord, and then be able to be equipped in the skills that they need for college and career, and then building on that legacy of faith. And, we had 170 students at the end of last year. We have 20 teachers and 8 staff members. That's what makes up our school. Of the 20 teachers that we have, 5 of them are alumni, 10 are local, and 5 are missionaries from outside. So that kind of gives you a sense of where our staff comes from. And then of our 8 staff members, 3 are alumni, Redbird alumni, and 5 are local. So we have 28 staff people, faculty and staff that are at the school. And so if you do that math, where our teacher to student ratio is 1 to 9, just under 1 to 9. Again, we look at our families. Why are you choosing to send your child to Redbird instead of going to the public schools? Over and over again, we hear 2 things: that you're Christian, that you teach God's word, and the small class sizes. We want to give them an opportunity to be known, right? What a blessing and a privilege it is to know these children and to know their families and to have that long-standing relationship with them so that we can serve them better. So again, we see our school as a mission field, and what I say to our staff is we have a shared calling and a shared sacrifice. It's a decision, it's an intentional decision to come to Redbird and to stay at Redbird as a staff person, and it's the opportunity to serve. And so we offer that, and also preparing, again, as I said, for college and for career. We have 2 federal programs that we use. We have the Hot Lunch, or the School Community Nutrition Program, that's a federal, and so that, because over 73% of our students are directly certified for services, KTAP or SNAP or food stamps, that means all of our children at our school get free breakfast and free lunch. So that program has really blessed us, because I remember when we didn't have that. And so this has been a real blessing for our children to have that. And then the Title program has been a real blessing for us to be able to help students that are at risk for failure. And so we have monies to help us with instructional aids. We have monies for professional development to better equip our staff. And then we have money for supplementary things to our curriculum so that we can grow and serve our children better. That's the federal monies that we use. Evidence of success. We need to tout this more and more, but at Redbird Christian School, we have an average matriculation rate of 85% over the past 5 years. In other words, and I can say from last year, we graduated 100% of those children were accepted into at least one college, had at least one opportunity to go somewhere and do, and all but 2 have made that decision to enroll and are enrolled and ready to go. So that matriculation it looks like that. We want them to have the opportunities. And I don't, and as a former guidance counselor, it's not 4 years isn't for everybody. I know that, and we know that. 2 years is not for everybody. Vocation, but something, right? Have some sort of skill set to equip them to be different than everybody else as they move on and make a difference in their own homes and their own families. I understand that there are other ways to show success, but we think this is pretty powerful, and we've been told we got to spread this word more, that because we have small class sizes, because we know our students, because we have a dedicated staff and school secretary, and Melanie Adams is here with us today as our school's counselor, we can help guide them to what is it? It's not just their plan for their lives, but the Lord's plan for their lives. So it's looking full circle. Okay, I've already talked to you about what our 4 pillars are. Academic excellence, spiritual development, leadership, and service. You can get a sense of, if you see the picture on the left, we had a blessing of watching 2 of our young ones get baptized this past fall, and that was such a blessing to see them make that decision for themselves. And then over to the picture on the right is our baccalaureate service. So we do at graduation time have a special dedicated church service in the original church. This is the Beverly United Methodist Church, and the original school used to sit right next to it. But we bring our students up there 2 times a year. One is during homecoming, and we do a chapel in the original church, and then at graduation time. And those are our choir, our choral students that have gone up and shared that testimony through music. It's a real wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate our students and the things that they're doing. Here's another really great picture of our children. And these are our elementary children. But just, again, we talk about being a family and looking out for each other. Our small class sizes in the elementary are around 8 to 12. That's how many we have. We have had to combine a few classes because of the low class sizes this year. So our 1st and 2nd grade will be combined. Our 4th and 5th grades will be combined. What also has been neat is to see churches and Sunday school classes that have decided to adopt some of our classes, our classrooms, and from year to year build those relationships with our teachers and with our children, and that's been a real blessing. So other spiritual demonstrations of our school would be our chapel that we have, and you see that happening there in our chapel that was built about 10 years ago. There's Ashlyn, who is here today, and she asked the Lord into her heart and got baptized this past year. And then one of our graduates that was sharing during the baccalaureate ceremony. This stuff is intentional, and these are things that we praise and praise the Lord for, and pray that we are glorifying Him in what we do. Here is our guidance counselor and her daughter, Sarah, also here, and and another one of our students. But the opportunity to take them to colleges, get them experience of being on a college campus, encouraging that registration opportunity to get them to experience that leadership development, that nurturing environment that we offer at Redbird. We also take part in grants. We write grants to help support us. We had a behavioral health grant that really helped us. We've had a substance abuse prevention grant that has really helped us as well, and a KIA College and Career Preparatory Grant. Those grants really do help us as we work through, and Melanie does an amazing job leading those programs. And we are proud of our students and the things that they have to do. They've got great personalities, and I wanted to share that picture with you. We also, service is key. And so we have a group that every 2 years, thanks to the leadership of Angela Crawford, who's been our Spanish teacher for 32 years, because we came the same year, and Puerto Rico. They got to go to a mission trip into Puerto Rico, and that has been a staple every other year within our students. Our students are having opportunities to go and to do and to serve others instead of always receiving that service. We also have in leadership and in service, because we're a preschool through 12th grade school, there's a lot of opportunities for our older students to reach down to the younger students and to guide and direct them and to teach them and to help them and encourage them. And so that has been a really neat opportunity for us. We have a very supportive dorm staff. We have a dormitory. Our dormitory is, for 10 years now, we're celebrating where we have invited international students to come and be a part of our school. And our dormitory staff has treated them as their own, as we expect them to. And it's been a real blessing to have relationships with their families, our international students' families, and see their thankfulness and confidence in what we're doing. And so that, and I'll talk a little bit more about our dorm students later. So, academic excellence, spiritual development, leadership, service, and then we have added our STEAM initiative. We want our students, what are our academic goals for our students? We want them to be able to write, read, speak, listen with proficiency, be able to express what they believe, to be able to defend an argument, to be able to persuade, always looking and seeking God's will. But we decided that we needed the problem solving and the critical thinking. That's where the STEAM program came in. And so we introduced STEAM, and through that STEAM program, we're working with partners to provide curriculum for students that are going to equip them for life after high school. And now in this world, it's really helping them to understand the depth and the breadth of what's available to them, and the high demand fields throughout the region. Again, we talk about creating our own workforce, and so Redbird STEAM is big for that. And this is, these are examples of, in my original, my new slide, I have the word STEAM, and the A is highlighted because this is the fine arts part of our program. And our fine arts program has been very, very strong, and we keep it there on purpose because it touches our students, and it's a vehicle for being able to learn more about the world around them. And so I wanted to give you a glimpse into our fine arts program, and that it is intentional that it stays as a part of our STEAM program instead of just our STEM program, science and technology, engineering, and math. But we got to add the fine arts in there. When we started our STEAM program, we were looking for what are the pathways that we can provide for our children, for our students. And when we originally started, it was computer science and health science, small business entrepreneurship, teaching and education, construction science would be something we would love to be able to do. Those are the things that went in looking at the need in our area and the interest of our students. That's where we started. That's where it's being able to provide classes where they can get micro certifications, moving towards those kinds of skill sets. Well, we have a limit on what we can. We would love to teach construction science. We would love to have HVAC and plumbing that we could provide our students. What we've learned to do, though, is to work in relationship with the Hazard Community College, which is fairly close by, and be in partnership with them. But what we also could use, well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Things had to shift because if we have a Grow Appalachia program, which again, Ms. Tracy mentioned to you before, is in a partnership with Redbird Mission. So we created a pathway for agricultural science for our students. It was an opportunity for them to get out in the garden. Now, two generations ago, their grandparents knew how to raise a garden, and that was a staple. They knew how because they had to. Again, let me repeat Tracy talking about us being in a food desert. You know, fresh foods don't come, they're not readily available in our area. So we created a pathway with agricultural science to be able to teach our students how to grow, to get excited about different vegetables, different fresh products that they that can help them grow and support themselves and a family. There's one picture in there that's of our Civil Air Patrol, and I'll get to them later. But that agricultural science, and then we created a culinary science pathway. Again, we have Melanie on staff who loved culinary and has a dietetics degree. So it's a lot about who we have, right? Who we have available to teach. And so we were able to, again, use Grow Appalachia and a new hire in Melanie, Mrs. Adams, to be able to provide a side-by-side agricultural science and culinary science pathways. The children grew their food, they harvested it, they processed it, or they saved it. You know, they learned how to freeze it, or they learned how to can it. They learned how to cook it. They learned how to eat it. So these became really fun and exciting STEAM opportunities for us to pivot and serve our students well. And the children loved these classes. They loved learning about what to do in those classes. Our vision for the next 100 years, and if I've heard our executive director, Carrie Collins, say this once 1,000 times, it's to build healthy, economically sustainable communities within Appalachia. We loved when somebody called us a community anchor institution, and the school is a part of that, right? But there's so much more involved, but the school is an important part of it. And so I wanted to make sure you all hear that coming from me. We want our courses and our certifications offered to the adults as well in the community, not just for our students, but be able to give, we have unemployed and underemployed folks in our community, and we want to give them opportunities to grow their skills so that they can do something that maybe they didn't recognize was an opportunity. And I'm going to get to that in a minute too. Oh. Okay, I'm good. Let me go back. Can I go back? Okay, good, thank you. Again, looking at our strengths. What are our strengths? Our youth is a strength. The neighbors we have in our community is our strength. What a wonderful community of people we have. Our partners, like you all, is our strength, and our environment that we live in. We live in a beautiful part of the world, and we celebrate that as well. Those are our strengths. There's something else that we've learned. We started an ARC, or an Appalachian Regional Commission grant that I wanted to introduce you in thinking again about how do we serve our students and their families. How do we also serve the unemployed and underemployed adults in our community? And we had a heart and an excitement to form a job development and community center, a place where we can take, for example, the affordable broadband internet accessibility that we have as a school, and be able to open that up to our families. They can say that they want everybody in our area to have broadband, but to get into all of these little hollers, it's going to take a really, really, really long time. So if we can provide a place for them to come and use the technology that we have, it could be a blessing. So we won a $50,000 planning grant to be able to plan what this might look like. But what I'm showing you are the early stages of us just really thinking, what's our vision? And so I wanted to share that with you. We wanted to have computer labs where students where adults could work from home, you know, have virtual jobs and use our center as a place to do those, and also to learn more, to have virtual learning. If that happens, then our STEAM students can take cybersecurity courses, computer networking courses, IT assistance courses, so it serves our students well too. If we have this job development community center, there's clerical positions involved, because we got to be able to run that building, and our students can benefit from that too. They can learn how to be an intern and go over there and work as an intern in administration. Childcare and tutoring, we can provide that in this new facility that we hope, and our students can be paraprofessionals and they can learn from that as well. The gymnasium, we can provide recreation, practice space, and community events, and again, our students can help with those and get certified to be extra helpers with those kinds of things. Activity rooms, maker spaces, and security. These are all ways that this job development and community center could really influence our community and make a difference. So this was our vision. And we're working with partners at the state level, at the federal level, at the local level, and working to make that happen. So your prayers would be appreciated for that, for us to make a difference in our community in that way. The messages from our students aren't gonna go through, but we've been asking our students, you know, what about the STEAM program are you happy about and are you excited about? And we had them talk about just having opportunities to see things that we hadn't seen before, to go on job shadowing. We've taken students to different health fairs as well, so that they could experience different job shadowing opportunities. We have students, even Samantha right now, who is here with you today. She just got into the physical therapy program at Bellarmine, and we're so proud of her after she graduated, to be able to equip our students to have those exciting opportunities. That we want them to be able to have those things. Let me see what else I need to tell you all. Another connection. When Paul was talking about the Redbird build, and Ken was talking about the Redbird build, of the 6 homes that were built, 4 of them were the recipients were Redbird alumni. Just the opportunity to make a difference in their lives is important work, and to see them thrive and to grow and to have those opportunities because of the work that you do is important, and we really appreciate it, and I thank you. And if you have any other questions or questions for me, I'm available afterwards, but thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Bennett from here at St. Mark's, and I'm out of my league. Haven't these people done a wonderful job this morning? I'm also out of my league in another way. I'm almost embarrassed to share with you because they've shared these wonderful testimonies. Maybe when I get through telling my story, it will kind of demonstrate how God's plan is revealed at different times in our life and in different ways. You see, I was here at St. Mark's. I was pretty comfortable in what I was doing, and I thought a red bird was a cardinal that flitted around out here. I had no idea there was a Redbird mission. Now, it was in the bulletin here at church that our church was going on a mission trip to Redbird. I read it like a lot of other people here, but it didn't do much more than just words on the page for me. Well, we go to my house for Sunday dinner, and I have a grandchild who said, "Grandmother," yeah, some of them do call me grandmother, although I have other names too. I tried to talk them into saying Queen Elizabeth, but he decided he'd rather say grandmother. So those of you from St. Mark's that know Will Bennett, he was going into high school as a freshman, 14 years old. "Grandmother, are you going to Redbird?" "No, I don't think so, Will." "Why not?" "Well, I don't know. I just hadn't thought about it." "Well, I don't know why you don't go. Dad and I are both going. You ought to go." Well, I kind of dismissed that. A couple of days later, Will said, "Grandmother, are you going to Redbird?" "No, I guess not." After about the 3rd time, I thought, I'll probably never have another opportunity to work with my son and my grandson on a mission trip. I think I'll go. Guys, I didn't go for the right reason. No, God did not put it upon my heart to be in service to others at that time. I went to be in service with my son and my grandson. Well, we get to Redbird, and so I'm going to work with the youth. But they need another female, so Sherry Yellum says, I'll work with the youth. So now my story becomes Sherry's story. The first day, we get on that bus full of teenagers, and we start up this curvy road. Now, folks, I'm from Jackson County, Tennessee. I thought I had seen curves before. There was a curve in the road that the church bus could not make without backing up and going again. For those of you who know my son, Bill Bennett, the kids were chanting, "You can do it, you can do it." Sherry and I we'd close our eyes when we'd get to that curve. And he would say to the kids, "Before the week's over, we'll make it without backing up." We go to the house to work, and I'm not exaggerating. These people do not get their mail every day. You didn't know there was any place in the United States that didn't have postal service every day. But I assure you, the year we worked on that house, they did not get mail every day. I don't remember what day of the week it was, because we were already tired. Sherry and I were pretty tired. The kids were roofing the house, and we were given jobs to do. This particular day, Bill Bennett said to us, "You're going to pour concrete." I said, "We don't know how to pour concrete. We don't know how to fix this sidewalk." And it was a little walk that went up to their house. It was gravel, very dangerous for elderly people. I'm glad I'm not there now. And he said, "Look, whatever you do is going to be better than what they've got now. Here's what you do." Well, Sherry and I work, and we sweat a little, and we try our best. And every now and then, somebody will come by, and, well, it's Bill Bennett and a whole bunch of kids and a youth director, me and Sherry. And that's who's up on the top of this mountain. Nobody else within, we could yell. And I've been in lots of hollers, but we could yell and nobody else would have heard us. That's how far away we were from anybody. By the end of the day, Sherry and I were worn out. We could hardly drag ourselves to the bus. We get in dirty, you just can't imagine. And we decide we'll go take a shower before we go to dinner. And both of us can hardly wait to stretch our bodies out on that cot that night. This little middle school kid brings a piece of paper around to the table, and he said, "Anybody going to this music program at the school tonight?" Sherry and I looked at our belly button. "No, not us." Nobody said anything. He said, "Well, I kind of wanted to go, but I don't want to go by myself." Sherry and I looked at each other. We said, "We'll go with you." And this is where God starts to work his magic. We go to that music program. I spent my life in public education, so I had a little knowledge of music programs. I had seen kids audition before they could sing in a choir. I had been a part of a lot of that. We go to this music program, and it begins with Mr. Smallwood working his magic with all those kids. There's a little girl in the front row. She has a bobby pin in her hair with a Kleenex made out of a flower. She's a little overweight. her clothes don't match. And she has the biggest smile on her face and is singing loudly, a little off tune. And Mr. Smallwood is encouraging her. And it's very evident who her parents are because they're sitting right in front of her, what looked to be a mother and a grandmother, smiling and so happy. And she is singing and swaying and waving to those two. As I watched that, something happened. You know, Paul Gibbons is tough. Y'all have heard all about all these things he can do about building houses. Well, let me tell you a little something else about Paul Gibbons. When he goes to Redbird, his allergies work on him. You know, when a little girl grabs him around the knees and thanks him for a Christmas present that he brought in, he had to walk outside because his allergies were bothering him so badly. There wasn't any way I could hide my allergies that night. Because as I looked at that little girl, I thought about what her life would have been like had she been in a public school that was not so inclusive. What if she had been in a place that had had to audition to be in that music program that night, and how different her life would have been? We go back to the cabin that night, and Sherry and I are both pretty moved. And as we talked about it, I think there were a lot of allergies in that cabin that night. We go back to the top of that hill and start working on that house. We come back home, and I can't get that out of my mind. And then I get to thinking, is a mission trip kind of like a booster and immunization that you take once a year? I don't see us doing anything too different on a daily basis here. So I go to Jim Clardy, and I said, Jim, let me tell you something that happened on this trip. Is this kind of what a mission trip's supposed to be like? You go, you do this for a week, and you come back, and everything just goes back to normal? Jim said, no, I don't think so, Liz. Said, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Holy Spirit's gotten hold of you. I decided to go back to work at the school, and I even went when the church didn't go. Went back and worked. Jennifer was the guidance counselor, and I would call Jennifer, and I would work in Christy Rourke's kindergarten room. Then when St. Mark's went back on a mission trip, I went to the school to work. One day I said, what else can we do? And I don't know if it was Jennifer or Christy that started telling me that at Christmas, the kids get a book, a piece of clothing, like a cap or mittens or a sweatshirt, and one toy. I came back to St. Mark's and took a gift off the angel tree, and the kid asked for a 2004, whatever year it was, Madden video game. So I say to my Sunday school class, say to Jim and different people, these kids need underwear. I was helping this little kindergarten kid button her pants, and she didn't have on any panties. Of course, I went to Middlesboro Walmart that night, and we put panties in her backpack the next day. But these children need essentials They're not asking for a Madden video game. So God is at work again. Something that I could have never done, would have never done, wouldn't have even known how to do. Karen Alexander said, I'll take over the shopping for the Christmas kids. I'll take over that. So again, I don't know if it was Jennifer or Christy. I said, what do we do for you all at Christmas? How do we do this? And one of them, whichever one I was talking to at that time, said, well, a lot of people drop things off for us, and we get more donations at Christmas time, but very few people give of their time. Very few people give of themselves. So we went to Redbird, and we did the Redbird Christmas party. We took the refreshments, we did the stories, the games, and whatever. And it started with a kindergarten class and the two Head Start classes, even when the Head Start class was meeting out at a church someplace before they were there where Tracy's office is. By that time, it was kind of no longer a choice for us. It was a part of our life. Because something that started out to be time spent with my son and my grandson was now a real passion. It was something that I felt in my heart that I was supposed to help execute, whether I was there doing it or not. It was really my job to tell other people about it, and my job to support other people in that role. I don't know how many years I went to Redbird and worked in the school, maybe 12, 10, 15, a whole lot. And what I observed was not just a compassion among the teachers, but the staff. I remember the janitor who would come in the room after lunch and go to the back of the room and put something in all the backpacks. So I said to Christy, what's he doing? He's putting food in their backpacks so they'll have dinner tonight. You pass out a treat, and a child will take one lick off of his lollipop and put the paper back on it and put it in his backpack and say he's going to take it home to his little brother. And I had taught children my whole life, but I had never experienced this. Folks, you have to go to Redbird to really, truly experience it, but perhaps it's my job and those of us here at St. Mark's to tell the story to the people who can't go. And all of you who have spoke this morning have done an excellent job of telling that. About the only thing I can add to that is, if you go to Redbird, please expect your allergies to act up, because it will become a part of your life, and you will leave a piece of your heart at Redbird. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Karen Alexander, in case we haven't met. I want to thank everybody for coming today. This has been a dream that we've had since, I believe, We met with Tracy and them on March the 3rd this year. And it's been my pleasure to put this together and work with everybody involved and make this possible. I didn't do it by myself. There were so many that helped. We've got people that have hosted people. We've got our United Methodist men that have fed everybody. I've got my best friends that now won't answer the phone if I say I need some help decorating, if balloons are involved. I've got my best friend since I was 5 years old that did all those beautiful flowers on the table in the banquet hall. I can't thank everybody enough that has pitched in and helped. I've got my ladies over here on the left-hand side that put the beautiful Redbird labels on our water bottles just to make them a little bit special. So thank you to everybody, to Paul for having the dream years ago, for Liz and Lynn and everybody that I've grown up with and have put it in my heart that this is where I needed to be. During our lives, we're always looking for places that we feel like we belong. I'm very thankful that my mom and dad decided that St. Mark's United Methodist Church on Main Street was where my family belonged when I was about 5 years old. I grew up attending St. Mark's, and as an adult became involved in several of our missions involving the furniture ministry, the disaster ministry, where I was the only female, but I did my share, and the local food ministry. I looked forward to retiring because I wanted to volunteer more and to continue to help people like my mom and dad had always done all of their lives. And besides that, Paul Gibbons had handed me, when I turned 54, had handed me a piece of paper, and I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's your job performance plan for when you retire." And he had everything all lined out of what I was going to do, and number 8 was make cookies every day. After I retired in April of 2011, I heard the same thing that a lot of the people that have spoken before me. I heard that same call from the altar that said, "We're going to Redbird for work camp." And I'm like, I don't really know what to expect. I've not ever been to work camp before that I know of. I had been like Lynn this morning. I'd gone with my dad and helped him paint. We'd done things around the house, and I'd done different jobs, but they're talking about 3 of the poorest counties in the United States, not just Kentucky, in the United States. And I thought, what is it that I could do for Redbird? I decided to go because it meant so much to these people that have spoken this morning. And so I decided if it means that much to them, I'm going at least 1 year and try it out. I'm so thankful that I did, because I learned that Redbird is definitely a place where I belong. Sorry, I'm going to cry. I'm apologizing up ahead. I was fortunate enough to participate in Redbird Work Camp for several years. They called me the Caulkinator because that's usually the job that I did. And I might add, they said that I was very neat. Paul said I was very neat. Karen, it's not important that you're that neat, because my hands would have more caulk on them than there would be on the wall, but you did a very neat job. The families were so happy to have us help them improve their homes. And we got to know each of the families. You can tell I talk a lot, and so I took that with me, and I talked to the families. We got to know each of them. We made friends of them. They weren't just people in Kentucky that we would never see again. We made friends with them. Some of them I've still got on Facebook, and we've been friends for years. We keep up with each other, and we celebrate graduations and new things that y'all are getting into, and the kids have grown on us. When they got off the bus last night, I couldn't believe how big Samantha and Sydney were, some of the others. We have become family. Those of you who know me, you know that you don't very often see me without my beagle, Jake. And he actually is co-parented by me and Paul. And I told Paul I wanted him up here with me on the stage, and he said he didn't think that would probably be appropriate. He did get a bath, however, and if anybody wants to see him, I'll be happy to take you over to the warehouse to see him. So those of you that know Jake might not know that he came from Redbird. He lived in one of the first houses that I worked on in 2011. He was one of 8 beagles, and they also had a hunting dog, and they also had she was called Sheba. I think she was a grandparent niece. I don't know if Craig has already left yet, but Craig was really excited. He always was so proud that his church had the first church beagle, because he was our pastor at the time. And we told him, we said, well, we're bringing him home. He's going to be our church dog. We're bringing him home. I think he wanted the brown hunting dog, but he grew to love Jake. And that was a sight when he'd come over to the warehouse and he'd tell Paul he was going to take Jake for a walk. And here's 6 foot, 5 or 6, Craig, walking across the field with Jake, that tail just a wagging. It didn't take long for me to realize that Redbird represented hope to the families that they served. And that was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of. After work camp, I was involved with our mission team in building 6 houses for the families in Redbird County. It was so rewarding to work with Paul and Ken in the planning and ordering all of the supplies, picking out the colors of the, you knew I wouldn't let them pick out the colors for the house and everything. So we picked out the colors for the walls and for everything in the house. We picked out the countertops and the cabinets. Jake and I did at Lowe's. He was their favorite customer. And we got involved from the very start in the planning. But Paul and I said the entire time, God was definitely in charge and made it all come together, because there were so many different parts to the puzzle. Especially when it didn't seem like it was possible. During COVID, at the end of COVID, the houses were finished and were done. It was amazing to watch the houses. I went on every trip, I think, except for maybe some of the last touch-up where some of the guys went and did their finishing touches, because I was a photographer for most of the projects. And it was amazing to get there in the morning, and there would be the fog in the air, and the fog would kind of rise when we got there about 6:30 or 7, and all you would see would be this floor. And then all of a sudden we pull off the tarp off of the floor, and then here comes a truck, and it's got walls. And one by one, I sat there and I videoed and I took pictures as these walls go together. And then the walls are all finished and you've got a house, but then here come the trusses. And then here comes the roof. Within a day and a half, you have a house under roof. The ladies at Cookeville, and I make sure every presentation, didn't hear Ken say it this morning, but I make sure every presentation that they tell you that all the inside walls were built by women at Cookeville, First United Methodist Church. And a lot of them have got our verses that we put on there, our Bible verses that we put on there. But it was just amazing to be there and to see all those pieces fall into place. And then after a couple of weeks or few weeks, then there's a house. There's a home for these families. Well, you know me, I'm kind of into kids. And so there was, out of the 6 families that we had, there was 3 of the families that had children. And so I always got the special project of designing the children's rooms and furnishing the rooms. And we had people from St. Mark's and different places that would give me extra money. They would say, well, Karen, here, take this, buy some bedspreads, take this, buy whatever you need for the house. So pink and purple everywhere, princesses, puppies. We had butterflies in the little girls' rooms. But for our last one, Liam, he was the fisherman. He was 18 months old, and every time that anybody came from St. Mark's and the building team, this is what you saw. A little blind toe-headed guy, and reached up, and Paul Givens, Charles Roberts, every man in this room picked that child up one time or the other, and you could just feel the love. He just was such a love. And he got the fisherman's room, and he also had cars and trucks going everywhere, and Paul even got down in the floor with him, and we had one of the floor rugs, you know, that had the place where you could do all the trucks and the cars running around in his bedroom. And Paul and some of the guys went and sat in the bedroom with him after we had we had gone and welcomed everybody, and we were blessing the home. That was my part that I got involved in most of the time, other than just helping them to get the supplies. Didn't need the Calkinator much for these houses because they were built from scratch. During our trips to Redbird, we have met several of the staff, not just from work camp. There's too many of them to name names. I thought I'd put names in there, but there's so many of them that have come and gone. But we didn't just meet the people at work camp. We also ventured over to community outreach, and I will say Tracy, because Tracy and I probably been friends the longest of all of them. And so our staff became like family. Like I said, we've been friends over the years. We've talked, I lost my mom last year, and Tracy and I have talked about being caregivers and losing parents. I mean, we've shared it all. They work so hard, y'all, to provide to Redbird County. They get grants and they do whatever they can to find the resources to help their community. And they're so happy when we find ways that we can help them, like delivering fresh vegetables that Paul gets from the Society of St. Andrews, and like the boxes that we prepare and that First Methodist Church in Murfreesboro helps prepare every month. During one of the trips, I will say, I think it was Tim Crawford, and I'm sure he shows so many people, takes so many people on tours. He probably doesn't remember taking us, but he took us for a tour of the school. It was amazing. You heard Jennifer say, they love the Lord. They have morning devotionals. They read the Bible. They sing songs. It is wonderful to go to a school like that where you know that the children are loved and that the children love the Lord. I'll never forget, Christy is not there teaching anymore, but one year when we went for our Christmas party, they have a prayer every morning, and Christy will ask, what's on your heart this morning? Do you have anybody you need to pray for? Before we left to come back to Murfreesboro, they said they wanted to pray for their friends that were going back to Murfreesboro to have a safe trip. That breaks your heart, It doesn't really break your heart. It makes your heart feel good to know that those kids are already at their age, are already asking God for help and their support. After that, some of the ladies decided to volunteer as aides, as Liz said. Sherry and Liz and Karen Warren and several of them decided that they wanted to volunteer as aides. And like Liz said, that's where we got the idea of participating in the Christmas program. We've worked with, at the time, Jennifer was not the principal, I don't think. I think Jennifer was actually the guidance counselor when we started. And some of the teachers, especially Christy, got together with us and we said, what do they need? And Liz told you what they usually got from the school already, but that wasn't very much. And so we said, well, tell us, what do they need? What kind of hygiene products do they need? What kind of school supplies do they need? Do they need clothes? Do they need toys? What do they want? It's hard to believe, but it's been 11 years ago since we had those conversations, and 11 years that I've shopped already for the kids at Redbird. But like Liz said, we decided that we didn't want to be those people that just dropped off things and left. We didn't want to be those people that just sent the stuff there and had it mailed there. We wanted to see the kids' faces. And so we came up with birthday parties for Jesus. We don't do Santa Claus at Redbird, and that's at their request and our request too. There's no Santa Claus except for Roland, who wears my Santa Claus hat and dances around during the parties. There's no Santa Claus. We have a birthday party for Jesus, and we sing Happy Birthday, Jesus at every Christmas party. We load up our trucks and our trailers, and it's usually around the second week in December after several months of shopping, and we head to Redbird. All the gifts for the kids are wrapped, and I have an abundance of wrappers from St. Mark's and other places, other churches, and just some of my friends. Everybody wants to help wrap. We wrap up all the presents, and we put them in big black garbage bags. And while we are having the parties with the kids, the parents are taking the black garbage bags and putting them in the trunk of their car so that the parents can give the kids the gifts for Christmas. There's no St. Mark's. There's no First United Methodist on the cards. They're just Christmas presents to the kids. And they can make that decision who they want to tell them it's from. I know that several of them have told me over the years. We've told our daughter and that they're getting presents from St. Mark's, but it doesn't matter. We are all Santa Claus. Liz is our big storyteller, and Lynn is our big, she does all of the, all those songs that you sing and do all the motions and whatever. Liz and Lynn both do that, so I'll leave that to them and Sherry. I just go along, and one little boy one day said, "You bought our Christmas presents, didn't you?" And I said, "I don't know what you were talking about." And he said, "Well, just in case, I've got my list right here." And I realized that who he was, because all he wanted was helicopters. And I said, "Oh, Lord, please help me have enough helicopters for this little kid," because he's really excited about this. If you've heard the saying, "My cup runneth over," then you can understand how I feel about what I call my Redbird kids. They have literal dance parties because we give them assorted colors of Play-Doh and paint. I mean, the little girls come up to me and they say, "Oh, we've got pink and purple. We never had pink and purple." So I guess there's a lot of primary color things that go on at school. And they literally have dance parties in front of us. They're happy with whatever you give them. And they show us with their smiles and with their hugs during our visits. And there's been several occasions when the parents have taken us aside and they've said, "Thank you. Thank you so very much. Your gifts are the only gifts that my child will have for Christmas." Redbird is a place where I feel I belong because we can give hope to these families during Christmas. Over the last 11 years, we've been fortunate to have lots more people get involved. That means lots more people to adopt kids, more shoppers, more wrappers, more donations, and now we're able to give classroom gifts, and we give the families gift cards to help buy extra food for the holidays. St. Mark's now has expanded a little bit. Now we kind of expand with their program. So last year we adopted even one that was going to be born a couple of months after I got his name. And so we do nursery, preschool, first grade, and second grade. We adopted 55 last year, which was the largest number of kids I've shopped for so far. I cannot explain to you how much fun I have shopping for the Redbird kids. It is my personal challenge to see how much I can save and how much Kohl's Cash I can earn, because that means I get to get more free stuff for my kids. And you can ask Paul or Liz or Lynn or any of them. They get the phone calls. Julie, they get the phone calls. Because I say, "I just left Kohl's and I spent $300, but I saved so much and I got $70 in Kohl's Cash. And I got the jeans $10 off a piece," you know. And they're like, "Great," you know. And they probably are thinking every time they pick up the phone, "Do I really want to hear this?" But I get so excited about it. And I know it's hard for other people to get as excited as I do, but I am excited about it because this is one of the big things that I do every year. I don't even know the students' names yet, but Melanie already has sent me the numbers, so I've already started shopping. And yes, it's just July, but that's okay. I don't have my own kids, and so I guess that's one reason that during Christmas that Redbird means so much to me. We also have had some other churches that have joined us in doing Redbird Christmas. First United Methodist in Cookeville, where Ken belongs, they adopt the 3rd through the 8th grade. And First United Methodist in Murfreesboro buys gift cards for all of the high school students. So for the last 2 years, all of the students attending all of the Redbird schools get something from Tennessee for Christmas. And I think that's pretty cool. Thank you. Another very special group that Dave mentioned this morning in the Redbird Christmas is the Quilting Bees. They have made quilts for the kids for the last at least 10 years that I know of. I hope you took time during some of your breaks to look at their tables out there to see their beautiful work. As Dave mentioned earlier this morning, I did have a few tears. It wasn't just a few tears. It was like, I mean, I was crying. I could not believe when they called me over to their meeting and they said, we want to make a donation to Redbird. And after I gathered myself and gathered my composure, and yes, I was speechless for a couple of minutes, I thanked them profusely. And then as I walked out the door, I said, is that really the amount that you said? And they said, yeah. And I couldn't thank them enough for the gifts that they had given to Redbird. Not only are they giving of their time to make these beautiful quilts that the kids can keep for the rest of their lives, but they're also making financial donations to Redbird. So Tracy's the first one that gets the call, and I said, Tracy, you're going to be getting a check, and we're having a dance party on the phone. After a couple of days, then one of the quilters called me, and she said, she and her husband had a few tomato plants. Could we use a few extra tomato plants? And I'm thinking, 6, 10, whatever. And this is God working again. Paul and Nolan are going up the next day to meet with work camp to talk to Brad about some things some ideas we had that were going on. And so I thought, I'll ask Nolan if he can put them in the back of the car. There can't be that many. 288 tomato plants. And I said, Nolan, we kind of got 288 tomato plants. They said, we'll make it work. So the next day, Paul and Nolan and 288 of their favorite tomato plants made it to Redbird. And I hear that there was people waiting to get them and plant them the next day. The quilting bees give hope to the Redbird community with all of their types of gifts, and for that I say thank you. Today we celebrate Redbird Mission, Redbird School, and all of our Redbird friends who have traveled here today to take part in Redbird. We applaud you for the work that you are doing, especially during a time when participation and donations to charities like Redbird are down. I pray that God will continue to bless you and give you what you need to fulfill your missions. In closing, I'd like to share with you what one of my friends who supported Redbird by adopting kids every year texted me last night, knowing that today was Redbird, what she said to me. She said, I know you'll do well. It will go well. But she said, I have a question to ask you. What is your actual goal for Redbird? And I thought about it. I think that my goal for today is that we, everybody in this room, assure our Redbird friends that there are still people like you and me in Tennessee who want to help y'all give hope to their community. Thank you for your time and attention.
I'd like to start out by saying, Liz, Karen, and Paul, you also have some allergies around here because I have experienced the same thing throughout this day. This has been just a wonderful day for us all, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done in welcoming us here. And we love to have you come visit us. But man, this has been just a wonderful, wonderful experience, so thank you very much. My name is Carrie Collins, and I'm Executive Director at Redbird Mission. And I have the history with Redbird that's a little bit different in that I came to Redbird, this is a long time ago, folks, be thinking a long time ago. 1977, I came to Redbird as a volunteer for a year. And I came as a social worker. I just graduated with my bachelor's degree in social work, and planning to stay a year, go back to get my master's degree. Within a few weeks there, I met a person who soon became my husband, who was born and raised multi-generations in the Redbird area, had gone to school there, had come back as principal. We got married in '78, and we had our first child in '79 at Redbird Hospital. We ended up staying, both of us ended up staying for well over a decade. I had the privilege of serving in just about every department that we've talked about today as a volunteer throughout those years. Little did I don't know, and I think we've all experienced this, that God had plans that I had no idea what they were. And I just knew that life was good, and that while I thought my home was in southwest Wisconsin, it wasn't. I came home to Kentucky, and that's where my family and everybody that I loved and cherished ended up being there. My husband left after a number of years serving in that, and he became a school superintendent. He became a school superintendent after he finished getting his doctorate in educational leadership from Vanderbilt University, a place that he very much felt proud to be a part of. He would talk about, from his own words, being a poor hillbilly boy on Jacks Creek and ending up being top of the class in leadership education and graduating with honors from Vanderbilt. He's very proud of that. He ended up going to Texas, Southeast Texas, down in Orange, Texas, just a mile from the Louisiana border, as a superintendent while I was finishing up my work as I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I was working at that time at the Department for Behavioral Health in Frankfurt at our capital, doing lots of work with federal grants and everything else. We flew back and forth a lot. In 2010, he got a call from board members and from people in the community saying that the board of directors had just voted to close the school. That broke his heart, and he felt very, very pulled in trying to help figure out ways to not have that happen. That was in May. He had just signed another 5-year contract with the school system in Orange, and he called me that night and said, "Carrie, I'm coming home." So he went to the board, resigned, and within a few weeks, he was back at Redbird. And he served there as executive director until 2015 when he passed. My story is intertwined with his because we started out at Redbird. We were married at the church that you saw there. 2 of our children were born there at the hospital. I truly never saw it coming. I never saw that God's path for me was leading me back to Redbird. I had lots of things going on in my life, and that was not something I expected. When I was asked to consider possibly applying for the position that Taylor had been in, I was really reluctant, terribly reluctant. I have a whole series of dated photos of Redbird Cardinals coming and harassing me. Literally coming, and when I'm in the car, sitting on my windshield, and pictures of them sitting on my mirror on the side of my car, coming up on my porch and sitting on the railing, staring in the window at me. And people started saying, "Carrie, maybe this is a sign," and I thought, yeah, no, just happening. I traveled over to see my brother who lives in Hawaii, and I was sitting on the back porch, the lanai, they call it back there, having a cup of coffee one morning when I heard the song of a redbird. And I looked up on the line, and I have a picture of this to prove it. There was sitting a redbird. And at that point in time, my brother came out, and he said he had never seen a cardinal in Hawaii before. So that was the day that I called and decided to submit my application. The idea for me was that I was really very much at peace with this because I was still grieving and still do at times the loss of my husband. But I also felt that this was bigger than me. This was not something that was a decision that I could make on my own. So I went into the interview with the thought that God knows. You know, if they decide that they would like to have me serve, I'll serve. But if they say, you know, you're not the right person for this time, I will with my heart be happy for whoever does and continue to help Redbird because it was my home. It was where I started. As you can tell, I ended up in 2015 going and sitting in the same desk that my husband had sat in and reading the notes of what he had planned for the next few years for Redbird. It was a bittersweet time, but it was also a time that I realized how powerful God is and how truly, no matter how much you try to fight it or try to think it's your own thoughts of where you want to go, I'm independent, I can make my own choices, that all of these paths that I had taken for all of those years since 1977 was leading me back to Redbird. It was full circle for me. So I wanted to share that with you because I thought that, you know, I've heard these beautiful testimonies and I'm so blessed to be working with my colleagues that have spoke here today. You can tell, I don't need to say this to you, but you can tell their passion, their love, their devotion, not only to Redbird, but to Christ. And the job that they do is from the heart every single day. I am amazed at how these people do not wear out. Their bodies may be tired, but their minds are always going to what can happen next. And that's God's strength. There's no doubt about it. So I'll go on a little bit. What I wanted to do is, we've heard a lot about what was happening today, literally in the last week at Redbird. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about who we are. And because we have a long history, but I'm just going to go through a short, brief kind of walk down memory lane for y'all. So Redbird has provided education and health care since 1921. I think we've mentioned that date before. And we will, with God's grace, continue to do so for another century. To know who we are today, I believe it's very important to understand our long and blessed history. As early as 1913, the women of the Evangelical Church became aware of the needs of the people in eastern Kentucky. In 1919, Evangelical Women's Missionary Society requested that the church establish education and health care in Beverly for the people in the Redbird Valley. Now we're talking 1919. The women were going out and finding these places in the mountains of Kentucky where there are no roads, yet they're traveling out there and finding this. And as was said by, I believe, Tracy, there were women that were praying that their children could receive these educational services. And so the women of the Evangelical Church just found each other. They also began establishing education and health care in Beverly, and they also began providing church services. The Women's Society decided to establish what they called was a faith fund. So this faith fund was money that they asked God to help understand and show them where to invest it. And they always referred to it in the faith fund. So when you look at the old documents, that's how they refer to it. Years later, in 1946, the Evangelical Church joined with the United Brethren Church to form the Evangelical United Brethren. The blended members of the EUB Church became strong supporters of Redbird and our school and our hospital. So those churches coming together just embraced the work of Redbird and continued to support the work that was being done there. In 1968, as you all know, the EUB Church and the Methodist Church came together and formed the United Methodist Church. Many of these newly established denomination churches continued to support the work of Redbird, including the continued support from the women of the church and the women now of the Women in Faith, and we're known as a national mission institution with them. And I will point out on our logo that changed a number of years ago that we now have a female cardinal on there. You may have noticed before that the beautiful male cardinal was always there, but that was purposefully added to recognize the work of the women at Redbird. It's also important to note that in 1968, Redbird Mission also became a 501c3 nonprofit, which required the establishment of an independent board of directors to preside over it. Redbird has held an ecumenical vision throughout the years. Our staff, our volunteers, our donors, our supporters, the people that we serve, all represent many different Christian denominations and entities. God has guided each one of them to Redbird. The local churches that were previously known as EUB were moved to the Redbird Missionary Conference after it formed in 1973. So all those churches that were built through Evangelical and then the EUB were eventually moved when that joining happened into the conference. And so they had fallen under Redbird Mission before that. Redbird Mission has remained a private nonprofit organization that never wavered from its original mission founded in 1921. We continue to educate, provide health care, and meet other needs of people in this corner of Appalachia. We were and have remained Christian human service organizations. Redbird Hospital became a 501c3 nonprofit in 1978 and continued to hold the recognition when it became Redbird Clinic. Redbird Mission Housing Incorporated became a 501c3 nonprofit in 1997. Redbird consists of 3 nonprofit organizations. While Redbird has adapted to accommodate necessary changes for those that we serve, and I know everybody's talked about the ways that we've done that, we have remained true to our original cornerstones on which we were built, providing health care and education for the people in some of the most impoverished counties in the nation. We do this as we strive every single day to follow Christ's leadership as we serve. So that's our history. That's kind of where we came from and how we exist today. We welcome people who have the heart for mission, that have the heart to serve, to understand what Christ asked us to do in serving others. And so the future of the mission, the future of where we're headed really is defined by the board, and Jennifer talked about this too, the vision of a healthy and economically sustainable community. Because it's not just Band-Aids. It's not just saying to people, we want to keep you here and we'll just sustain you here. It's about building a community where decisions are made and the health of the community and the vision of the community comes from within. That's where sustainability happens. So the future of Redbird is kind of built out of a number of things that we're working on right now. The folks here today have explained so beautifully not only what we're doing today, but where it's leading us tomorrow, not only for the organization, but also for all of the individuals that we serve. So one of the things is Redbird STEAM that Jennifer spoke about. And it was born out of this pause during our pandemic. I don't know what you all did during the pandemic, but we had a lot of sitting around trying to figure out what we were supposed to be doing. And as it was pointed out, there weren't a lot of people that came during that time. So one of the things from my perspective was trying to keep people employed, that was a really important thing for me. Another thing was it gave us a pause in our everyday work. It gave us a pause. And so we started kind of looking at all of our different programs and thinking about, what are we here for? What's our purpose? Where are we headed? And the challenges of a changing world that you really didn't know what the end results were going to be. So how do we do this? And one of the things that came out of that was Redbird STEAM. And it wasn't called that at the time, but we worked with the University of Louisville to help us develop a business plan during that period of time that could look at how do we build this healthy, sustainable community if we don't have the resources to lay the footers and help build it. And STEAM was the perfect kind of vehicle for us to be able to do that. And in order to do that, we needed people with expertise to help us with that, right? So when we started looking at Redbird STEAM, we were able to not only imagine it for our students coming up from kindergarten all the way through high school and preparing them for the world, but also to look at all of the adults in our community, the adults who were underemployed, unemployed, those that were in recovery and couldn't find a job. And we started looking at and calling in experts to say, so how do we do this? Where are some other communities that are doing something similar? And being able to start building that. In the meantime, because we have such fabulous staff and such wonderful community, they also could morph it to make it work in the area that we live. And you saw some of the results of that, which is awesome. We're just a few years down the road. I can think of the pandemic from a long time ago. Now it's only been a few years, right? So just amazing what things have been accomplished. We're also pursuing opportunities for building a stronger community through grant awards and through applications that we're submitting. We know that grants are time limited. There's startup, and so when we look at grants, we always look at sustainability. We don't want to apply for a grant that we're going to be able to offer to the community for 2 years and then pull the rug out from under them and say, yeah, we don't have that anymore. So as was brilliantly said many times, it's the weaving together, it's the interconnection between everything that we do that helps with sustainability. So one of the grants that we wrote for and received was through our Redbird Region Broadband Action Team. And the grant that we applied for was through Connect Humanity. Anybody that's come to Redbird understands that communication is not always easy there. We have no cell service, and we have, just until recently, we've had very limited and very sketchy Wi-Fi service, internet service. And so we pulled together this group of people from local entities all the way from internet service providers to people in the community with businesses that need this service, emergency management, whose ambulances couldn't communicate with anybody out in our area, the National Forest Service, who couldn't communicate with people out in the field because we don't have any communication. All of these people were coming into the room, and we've met regularly to come up with ideas and actually move forward with a number of things. In doing so, we had this ability to get this grant through Connect Humanity, who linked us to these experts. I mean, like, really experts that you would have to pay a lot of money to get any resources from. And here we are talking to somebody out in, I don't know, Washington State, who, you know, had run all these big billion-dollar industries, and they're helping try to figure out how we can bring broadband into our area. And they had these really great ideas that none of them worked. but they thought we could, like, dig and put the lines under the earth. Well, anybody that's been there knows the earth is rock, and it would be too costly to do so. But it was wonderful because they got to know us, and they got to know who we are, and they got to understand our challenges, which leads me to, again, this interconnection was the application to the Appalachian Regional Commission for Redbird Strong, which Jennifer has also pointed out. Thank you, Jennifer, for that. It's so interconnected here, right? So how can we have a job development center or a place for people to be able to come and work, a community to be able to come together to get resources if we're not connected to the world, right? We gotta have connections of resources there. How can people work from home when the fiber is not going to go up the holler? Well, they can work from Redbird, and we can pay for that cost. And then eventually they'll be making a livable wage, and the internet service providers may bring it up the holler because they'll have people who can pay for it because they have jobs. So we have this whole thing interconnected, and it is a planning grant, and it's coming up soon, and it's about feasibility. We may or may not be able to do it. We're praying that we can do it because we think it's really a good thing for the community, but we have a backup plan. So our backup plan is we made an application to the USDA for a distance learning grant. And the distance learning grant only pays for equipment. It doesn't pay for anything else. Well, we need equipment. And so we envisioned 5 different sites across our campus where we could put computer hardware, software, where we could set up areas for people to do different types of learning, different types of training, both for our students, for dual credit and other things that they could be involved with, as well as our adults in our community to be able to do this. And we identified rooms in different buildings that we could do this. So it'd be across the 2 sides of campus. When we don't have electric on one side, you can go to the other. We're thinking about this. And the USDA, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell anybody this or not, but one of the things we talked the state level into was to considering the fact that we have a real disruption in internet service, the lines, the fiber, and we have a lot of disruption with losing our electric. And so if you're on a job, doing online job, and you get, you know, the internet goes down, I'm imagining that somebody who's hired you maybe in, I don't know, Texas, you know, and you call and you say, yeah, I can't work, you know, because I can't get on, you know, or I couldn't because, you know, the electric went out. I imagine they're thinking it's something like my dog ate the homework kind of thing, you know. So what we asked for in this grant was a couple different, one's pretty fancy, generators that we could gear up if there's some interruption so people could continue to work or continue their class or whatever. And the other thing was a redundancy, which means that you have a backup. And so our backup, we asked for 5 Starlings. To be able to use that as a backup. We'll use the fiber, but if it's not there, we can use the satellites that are up there. And we had to do a special letter to DC to request this, and within a day we got approval for it. And they kept saying it's not gonna happen, they don't do this, you know. But it happened, and thank God for that, because it makes it very viable for us to be able to do that. So our backup plan is that if Redbird Strong isn't feasible as a building, that we still have the ability to provide those services and those resources. Although it'll be tight in little rooms across campus, but we'll still be able to provide the opportunity to work from home. We'll still have the ability to provide educational services for folks. So we will continue to work on those pathways that are coming up. And definitely it supports our vision of a healthy and economically sustainable community. During the pandemic years, everyone, including many churches, struggled with finding ways to remain together. Churches, nonprofits, along with Redbird, saw a decrease in attendance and in funding. Many of our supporters tell us that during the pandemic, they turned to supporting nonprofits and projects that were closer to home. I certainly understand that. In the last few years, we've seen an increase in volunteers over the years, as Brad spoke about. Incrementally, more and more people are coming back, and we are so grateful for that. We're reaching out to our sustainers and those with a heart that's leading them to support people in Appalachia, where true, measurable change is occurring, and where the belief is that a community can and will become healthy and strong with the right resources in place. We are the major employer in at least a 20-mile radius. 90% of our nearly 100 employees are generational to the area. Our dedicated board of directors, who represent various areas of expertise, are linked to Redbird through their own upbringing or other ties to the community. While Redbird continues to build on the cornerstones that were laid so many decades ago with health and education, we have recognized that Redbird is strengthening the communities with active leadership, strong voice, and future visioning through important employment and benefits for opportunities for growth. In order to do God's will in and around the Redbird Valley as a human service agency, we need people to deliver these much-needed resources. You saw the list of things that we need. Those will sit in a building if we have no human beings that are reaching out and being a part of these lives. They're the deliverers of these services. We pursue grants and other funding resources, but most do not pay for services to be delivered. So general giving is critical to keeping the lights on, the refrigerated food pantries working, children safe and comfortable in receiving quality education within the classroom, a place for volunteers to rest their heads and weary bodies, a place for community gatherings, and a place to receive much-needed health care. These grants also do support the talented, dedicated community members that are hired to deliver these services. The people that you met today, all of these folks that you met today, and over 80 others that are back at Redbird serving the community and our Lord. If you've not been to Redbird, please come and visit us. I think the invitation's gone out from everyone here, and it's sincere. We really do want you to come and visit us. If you're led to volunteer in areas of need, consider coming to Redbird. If you know of others that might be interested in learning more about Redbird or may have connection to needed resources, please introduce us to these folks. And if you have the ability to provide support to a community that has a vision of shaking off the lifetime of poverty and seeking economic reliance and a healthy future, please consider giving to Redbird. I want to end with a video. It's just short, not even time to get popcorn. It's really short, but it's one that we had recently presented to us. And it came out of this relationship that we have with SOAR, which is in Eastern Kentucky. It's shaping our Appalachian region, a very active, very powerful group to get resources out to the community. And our broadband action team was honored with an award a few months ago for the work that they've been doing on behalf of these communities. And we had a story that we shared at one of the meetings, and they were so touched by it that they asked if they could do a video. And so I want to end here by sharing this video with you so that you can kind of see the power of partnerships, the power of resources in times of really some critical need, and people stepped up and helped. And so I would like to share that with you first before I say goodbye. On Saturday, January 6, 2024, our Redbird High School was hosting a basketball tournament. It's an all-A tournament that we were hosting with multiple schools here. Earlier that morning, we discovered that the phone lines had been cut near the school, and that resulted in no landline or internet service. Plus, we don't have cell phone service here. In 2023, SOAR partnered with the Kentucky Department for Public Health and with SpaceX and provided 30 homes in the Redbird area with the service. One of the Starlink dishes happened to be placed here at the Redbird Mission campus.
Where we have a Civil Arbitral Squadron here, we set up a communication system for it. It's for emergencies in the community and to communicate with other civil arbitral.
Without having our internet and phone service here, it was important for us to have a connection just in case there was an emergency situation that had taken place. So we do have a backup plan if we do lose the internet or phone services here at the school. We can set up communications between the school and the annex in case of emergencies.
I was at the cafe and Mr. Lundy called on the radio and said, "We have a medical emergency. A lady had a possible heart attack."
A lady that is here as an EMT for the tournament. She assisted the lady. The lady was actually in the gymnasium here, and as the EMT was examining the patient, passed that information to me. I was passing it on, and then that's when things kind of escalated, and she requested the helicopter, to which the helicopter was denied because of weather.
So I moved to the annex and got on the base station where I could hear better, and I made the phone call on Starlink system to dispatch, and we got the ambulance rolling. You know, it would have been probably 15, 20 minutes to where we could have got to a point on Rocco Mountain to make a phone call there. You have to go all the way to the top of the mountain there to use your cell phone.
And so when the EMTs, got here, assessed the patient, they immediately took her straight to the hospital, of course, to which later I had messaged the daughter to check on her, and she said that she had actually had the heart attack, and that, without the care that, it could have been a different situation that had taken place there. So without the Starlink connection, we would have been in a tough situation there.
We got a lot going on here at the mission that helps a lot of people, and we're here to serve. And hopefully we can pass that on to the next generation.
I feel like I played a minor role in it, but certainly thankful that the lady was able to receive the help that she did, and that God provided a way for that. Once again, through the Starlink connection, if we wouldn't have had that, once again, it would have been a tragic ending.
The partnership with SOAR and the Kentucky Department of Public Health has been life-changing and life-saving for our school, our mission, and our community. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless every one of you that have come and spent time at Redbird, those who have prayed for us, those who will continue to be a part of the work that we do, and a special thank you to all of the amazing staff that have traveled here and shared their stories with you. So God bless.
This concludes our program. I guess the thing that I want to make sure that everybody thinks about today is not like Liz said, you go to mission camp and you stay a week and you help a few people and you come home and you go on with your regular life. I want everybody to pick up your attachment to your agenda and look on your computer at redbirdkentucky.org. They have a fabulous website on there. It tells everything you need to know about Redbird, all of the programs that they have, all the ways that you can help. If you can't physically go to Redbird, you can do other things. We all have an opportunity here to serve. And it makes me proud to hear all the things that they're trying to do to keep going. And it's just a little thing that I do for my part when I do Christmas or when we take food or whatever. We got a lot of people here that love you, and we hope that we have given you a little bit of hope with the things that we're doing. But please take this information home with you, look it over. If you'd like to financially support them, they have everything on their website where you can do that very easily. They really mean it. They want you to come and see them. Now, if it's COVID, Tracy's going to meet you at the door and she's going to say, put up those bangs, Karen, because I'm taking your temperature. But they really want to see you. They really want to show you all about what they're doing and what your earlier contributions and everything have done. And I just challenge you to look this up, see if there's something in your heart that you can do to help them. They're going to stay around for just a few minutes. If you haven't gotten a chance to talk to them, we'll all be out in the narthex taking down displays and whatever. We pray that you have safe travels back, and some of them are spending the night with us, so we're going to get to spend more time with them this afternoon. Thank you so much for coming and listening to our programs, and I thank everybody that's participated. Everything you've heard today from the lectern has been from the heart. We might not have all made it without crying and our voices cracking up, but that's because we love Redbird, and we wanted to try to let you know how much we love them. So thank you very much, and hope to see you at Redbird sometime soon. Bye-bye.